All right, y'all. So the Falcons have officially hired Tommy Rees as the offensive coordinator for 2026. And I'm not going to lie, y'all, this has gotten a lot of backlash and a lot of raised eyebrows, including from me. When Rees took over play calling in Cleveland during the 2025 season, the offense was still bad. And while it technically improved from what Kevin Stefanski had early on, that's honestly not a great sign within itself. Okay, you're talking about going from one of the worst offenses in the league to being in the bottom third still. I really don't like that. So instead of just yelling into the void or reacting to the box scores, I want to shut out the noise and actually see what the offense looked like. I went back and I charted the tape. One good game where they scored like I think 29 points, and one bad game where they only had 3 points. And I want to answer the simple question: are the things that Rees did, is he calling repeatable plays and sustainable plays? And if another team runs them, will they have success? I tried to eliminate the external factors such as bad pass protection, inconsistent receiver play, and really poor quarterback play. And I focused strictly on the concepts, the route structures, the protections, and the intent of the play designs. Does the primary read make sense? Would this work against a different defense? Can a functional offense execute this? And I came away with some clear positive and some clear concerns. And with that in the context in mind, let's go and get into the film. All right, we obviously starting with the good. So like one of the first things that stood out to me is like his favorite way to get a tight end involved is to use the trail concept. Now I will say Harold Fant is, like I said before, he's not a real tight end. He's just like a one of one H-back type of guy where you could put him at fullback, you could put him at tight end, he can just go make things happen. All right. So I'm gonna show y'all 3 different examples of him using this thing called wide trail, right? Where if you play Madden, you know where if we got it like a bunch set right here, we got the corner route, we got the drag, and we got the trail route right here. Okay, this is his favorite thing to use, and he does it out of this wing formation. Okay, so right here we're gonna get this over motion. He becomes the new number 1. He's running this out route. You're gonna get the short under route by the first tight end. Here comes Harold Fant on the trail route. Okay, then you're gonna have this dig right here to complement everything. Okay, and I will say, using this motion, he was able to get a linebacker on a receiver right here. Okay, so I do like that he's able to, manufacture some mismatches right here, because when you look at it play out, you're gonna see, I think this is TJ Edwards. He follows him out there. That's a receiver on a linebacker. Okay, I would call it freeze. Okay, but we look at where he was supposed to be going. Now I will say Shador, he did get some pressure in his face, and he did have good leverage on this angle route or trail route, whatever you want to call it. But he was still able to make something happen right here. But I'm not gonna sit up here and ignore like the result. And the process was fine, right? Because you still got a mismatch right here where he could have thrown it. Okay, but he was so locked onto the trail route where it's like, I don't know. But he still also had the backside dig coming open if you want to, throw that. But a lot of this stuff, I can see it being repeatable. And this one right here is the same example. It's early in this Titans game where we're still going to get the same thing, except we're going to go empty. We put the running back out here on the side with the 2 tight ends. So now we get a clear coverage ID. Okay, because remember, if we get linebacker or safety out here, we're probably getting man coverage. Okay, but since we went out and empty and this is a corner on him, we're probably thinking zone cover. So you're going to get a stop right here. Going to get the under again with the trail route right here. And then we're going to get like this seam route, and we're going to just get a mandatory outside release right there. Okay, pretty simple. And it's an easy read. You go from 1 to 2. If you have access, you'll take this. And if we probably get single high, you could work this right here. So it just depends on where you want to go based off of the defense. And once again, good process, because look at this. You have a dropper because you're dropping. I guess you would consider this dropping strong in a sense, because you got 4 guys right here, and this one can be considered the weak side of the formation because it's 2 receivers and the 2 tight ends are on this side plus the running back. So this guy's dropping out on the strong side, and you see that's a linebacker or edge rusher right here, and he's trying to guard Harold Fant in his space, and you see he was able to manufacture an easy one-on-one catch and run. Is about 13 yards. Okay, so I like this right here. All right, and remember, let's say it was 1 high where this safety was down here playing the buzz, or he was, we were playing 3 sky. This is going to be wide open down the seam, but he will be rotating to the middle of the field, though. But you will still have an opportunity to hit that, okay? So it's not just one-dimensional when we talk about this trail concept where he just runs it one way. He knows how to get into it, different ways, and I like that. And then they came back to it in the same game, and we look at this. Now look at who's out here on the running back. that is a linebacker now. So we know we getting man across the board, and we're gonna get the same thing. We're gonna get the under route with the trail, and then this time, instead of this, still gonna be like a little stop route right here, we're gonna get this guy. He's gonna be clearing out space, and we're gonna be running this glance right here. And Shedeur, surprisingly, he plays on time. He hits this in stride, and he was able to get 60 yards. But you can see that what I do like about this is, we're in a base personnel. We have 2 tight ends and a running back, okay? So you're going to force them to go out and base as well, all right? And so when you put the base bodies on one side, you're going to make this easy. You're going to get a clear coverage read, okay? Because now do you bring this corner over and you can give up the idea that you're in man coverage, okay? But you're going to give it up anyways because you have this running back out here and you have the 2 tight ends on this side, okay? And you're not going to allocate a corner to guard a running back in man coverage, okay? So it's still a good way to get a coverage idea because he's going to simplify this read for a young quarterback. Who has a young quarterback? We do, okay? And so if he knows he's getting man coverage, he's going to go to, his favorite guy that beats man coverage. It's either going to be this trail route, which is open. Okay, that's an open route. But you also look at this glance route right here that Jerry Jeudy does a good job getting open on, hits him in stride, and that's a 60-yard touchdown, y'all. Like, look at this. So he gets top of his drop. He waits a little minute. Now, he does have to get better at that. But I'm turning this into a Shedeur video. But anyways, you can see what I'm talking about where this stuff is easily repeatable. This next part is a 2-parter one, and one thing I really did notice in the first game I was charting is that, Tommy Rees has a good job or does a good job of adjusting on the fly. I'm not saying he does it every game because there's a reason why they average 17 points per game. It's not good, but you can see he has shown the flashes of being able to do it. So you see the Bears, they have 8 walked up on the line. Okay, and what we're getting conceptually, I'm not really sure what I'm sure what it is, but you would probably think, let's check out of it, let's get to a different thing because we're going to expect somebody to drop out of this, right? But we're going to get OTB right here. We're going to get curl. We were supposed to be a swing, but since we know we get at the line, he's going to stay in the block, right? But they end up rushing 4 anyways. And I think right here, we're going to just get a fade and an out, okay? So it's a simple, quick game concept where either you can split the field in half. I would recommend you split the field in half on this because if you try to progress this way, you're not going to have any success. But what the Bears end up doing is they're going to drop out and they're going to play Tampa 2, okay? And this is going to get these guys by surprise, all right? So like I said before, and since they're having 8 at the line, they really didn't have a protection plan for this because, look, you're going to see the protection. They're going to slide this way, okay? And you're going to see both of these guys. Well, I just say the furthest guy, he comes free, right? So now you see the Tampa 2 start to take shape right here, okay? Where you have this guy, he's gonna overlap to the flat. You got the pole runner right here. You got the hook to seam right there, the other hook to seam, and then you have this guy trapping. We got this guy playing the deep half, and he's rotating over to the deep half now, okay? And there's really nowhere to go, okay? And Shedeur, he also does a good job knowing, hey, this guy's gonna probably come free, so let me drift this way. I will say that, all right? But bottom line, there was really no protection plan, and there was nowhere to go with this football, okay? And so he had to make a guy miss, and he was able to get 9 yards out of it. Now, fast forward a few third downs later, they're showing the same thing where they have 8 at the line, and they're going to drop out and play Tampa 2. So we still know that this guy, he's not going to stay here. He's getting off the hash either way, okay? Because we saw this earlier in the game. And what do we do to take advantage of this? We're going to run this guy right down the middle of the field. And what's the weakness to Tampa 2? The middle of the field. Now, even though you got TJ Edwards trying to run down the middle of the field, it's still middle of the field open, and that's a linebacker on a receiver. Okay, that's Isaiah Bond. And we have a deep end cut right here. We're going to get this little deep end cut right here as well. And the protection plan was better. Okay, we're going to have the running back stay in and get these guys off the edge right here. We're going to get Chip help with the tight end. He's going to get out on his route. But you see that there's a protection plan now, and we're able to take advantage of the defense that they get into now that we know what happened. Okay, so there was a contingency plan right here to say, hey, they brought this 8-man front. We're going to block it up. And look at this. You have a receiver that runs a 4.39 on TJ Edwards, and we're going to throw a ball right down the middle of the field. We get an explosive play. Really good play right here. Good on the fly adjustment, and I like that. I will talk about this later, but I do have some critiques about his, his keeper game, which means, you're going to fake the run. You're going to do a keeper out that way, obviously. But, I will say, even though there have been mixed results, he does a good job of designing them. So this is Harold Fannin Jr., obviously. And we're still in the base personnel where we have 2 tight ends and a running back. Okay, so these guys are going to respond with a base look. All right. Now look at this. What we're gonna do, we're gonna get this rocket motion by Harold Fannin. All right. He's gonna insert into the C gap and run this corner route. Okay. We're gonna get a slam release by the tight end right here. We're going to get the over by Cedric Tillman, and then Jerry Jeudy's going to run right down the middle of the field. Okay, this is a very good design, y'all. And like I said before, even though the results have been inconsistent on his keeper game, I like some of the design because look at this. Once again, he's inserting into the C gap, all right, and you have these guys all biting on run. And when Shedeur gets out on the bootleg, all right, Harold Fannin is open, okay, and maybe like he sees that this guy's back is turned. He can only cover the width of his shoulders if his back is turned. You put that ball in the spot he can go get, because look, he can't affect this throw because his hips are the other way. He's too far away. Now, do you trust your arm to get it there? Okay, put it right here and let him go get it. Okay, and like, I don't know what made him hold this ball, but he is a ball holder. But you can see Harold Fannin is wide open. Okay, you put this right here, and that's an easy first down. But for some reason, you know, Shedeur, he's just going to throw it to Cedric Tillman and nearly gets picked off. So either way, I like the design of it, but, you know, execution has to meet that design. And you see the punt team is getting ready right here. All right, this one right here is another example of the process being better than the result of the play, because this is very repeatable. Okay, so we're going to get this motion in by the tight end, the Y tight end I would call him, and he's going to go back across like he's sifting. Okay, we're obviously going to get the run action going this way because he's sifting back across this way. All right, but the routes that we're going to be getting here is a drift route, the most common thing in the West Coast offense. Now, if you don't know what drift is, think about Julio Jones in the NFC Championship game where he went for that long touchdown, and it was a penalty on the DB. Okay, this was the play they used. All right, and we're gonna get this streak route by this receiver, and we're gonna get him going out and all right. So he's trying to open up this window for this dig, try to get, you know, this underneath guy to stay out here so he doesn't have a chance to muddy up this picture. All right, and I do like the process. All right, but remember, this ends up being an interception if you didn't recognize the play, because look at this. We're gonna get the motion over, we're gonna get the run action going the other way. Remember, it's just a full slide. He's gonna act like he's sitting. He's gonna sit there in protection. Okay, now I do want to nitpick. I think if he would have carried out this fake just a little bit longer and then get back around, this guy goes in a little bit deeper, and he isn't able to affect this throw and then pick it off. But because you see, look at this, y'all. This is open. All right, this is an open route. And also, this entire game, now I haven't told y'all, but I charted every single play from this game. Kevin Byard, really both safeties, they were nailing down on anything. They did not respect the deep ball at all, because this is a streak route. All right, this is called a streak in this offense. You're supposed to like attack this safety and hold him, but if it's too high, you're still going to go down the middle of the field, right? And this route is open. He's leaving Jalen Johnson out to dry. All right, because I really think they didn't respect the deep ball right here, because, you know, he was already looking at it before Shedeur even threw it. Now, because look at this. He was looking at it the whole way. All right. Now, experienced quarterback probably resets and hits this right down the middle of the field because Isaiah Bond was wide. But still, the result of this play, or not the result, but the process of this play is better than the result, and I like it. And then another thing he did well with Shedeur as a young quarterback, he, you know, used a lot of motion to help him get coverage IDs, not just going empty and not just moving the pocket on the bootlegs and stuff. You see right here, we're going to get this over motion by Isaiah Bond, and he's going to become the new number one receiver, okay? And they're running everybody's favorite quarters beater right here, Mills. So we're going to get this in cut by Jerry Jeudy, and we're going to get this skinny post by Isaiah Bond. And he's going to hit this, like this is an amazing ball by Shedeur, all right? And then on the front side, you're going to get this, I forgot the name of this concept, but it's spacing. That's what it is, all right? You're going to get spacing on the front side, Mills to the back side, all right? And remember, this is going to be man coverage because Isaiah Bond's going to motion over, all right? This guy's going to follow him, okay? And now what we do know, we know we're probably getting some kind of middle field close at the moment, all right? So they bump this over, and we get the snap right here. Shedeur can see that both of these linebackers are coming, okay? And he's looking over this way. He's confirming he's got man coverage, all right? He sees Kevin Byard moving from the post. So what does he know he have? He knows it. He knows it. He knows he has this post right here because this guy can't affect this. this guy's going over to cover the other guy because they're in cover 0. All right. So all he has to do is just put this ball down the middle of the field. And he was doing this while getting hit. That was a very good cross dog right here by both linebackers, where one guy goes first to take this center out, and then you're going to get the other guy coming in the other way. That's what a cross dog is. All right. And you see, he just puts the ball down the middle of the field, and it's an explosive play. Like, that's a good play design right there. And good job for Shedeur for executing it. Here's another example of something that I do like. I think that's translatable if we keep Tyler Algier. Okay, so imagine this is Bijan. They are in 21 personnel where we have 2 running backs, all right, and then the other tight end is right here, okay, and with the 2 receivers. Okay, so remember, they got to counter with base or nickel, all right? So they're going to bring this running back here, and we're going to get pistol. Calm down, everybody. I know it's pistol, but still, what's going to happen here is we're going to get from this spot right here in pistol, we're going to get this swing, this lead swing concept right here with the tight end and the running back. We're going to get this deep in cut with this post route by Isaiah Bond. All right. And the dig is open. All right. And you'll see why. But I do think either way, it's a touchdown, check down, touchdown, check down. That's the West Coast offense in a nutshell. All right. So now look at this. We're going to get this playing through. All right. You're going to see, okay, play fake right here. And the reason why I said this dig is open, because look at this. Like, this guy can't affect this in cut right here. Neither one of these guys can affect this. And even if, let's say he was in position to do that, this lead swing, it's a 2-on-1 right here. All right. And if Shedeur didn't give him a shitty ball, threw it behind, like, if he didn't throw it behind him and he put it right there in his chest, he can catch that and run even more. Okay. He gets more than 6 yards out of this. All right. But it was a terrible ball. But either way, I do think if you let this concept breathe, Jerry Jeudy's catching this ball over the middle, okay, and he's going to catch it and keep going. Now, going back to the Browns game, I do want to show some more big play potential, all right, because this is a play action pass right here. We're going to get Harold Fannin stepping down. We're going to get this pull by the guard. We're going to get this play fake, and we're going to get Shedeur moving the pocket this way. All right, we're going to get double post on the front side. All right, so that means the inside post and the skinny post right here. We're going to get this over route by the backside X. And remember, like I said before early in the video, that these guys, they were sitting on everything because they just did not trust Shedeur in this deep ball, or they were not afraid of it. All right. And if you look at this, all right, if anybody that knows football, let's look at where the coverage ends up being. It's middle field close. All right. We know this is middle field close. Okay. Let's check this out. Do you know what beats a middle field close defense? Double post. And that's down here. All right. And you see Kevin Byard, he's favoring the inside post for sure. But he also knows that this overroute is coming. All right. And I do think slightly more experienced quarterback probably going to let this one fly right here. All right. Because even then, like, oh, what if this corner made a play right here? No, because they are like, you can't tell me that. And people try to argue with me on this. You can't tell me that it was like, oh, he drove on it as soon as Shedeur threw it. But when you look at the backside corner, he's calling out the crossing route. Okay, so that means he's going to go pick up this other post route, which is going to leave Jalen Johnson. It's going to leave this corner right here on the island again. Okay, so trying to argue with me that, oh, no, he only drove on it once Shedeur threw it. No, he was going to drive on it regardless, because the corner on the backside was calling it out, and he was already working his way down there, which is going to leave this outside post wide open. So really can't argue with me on that one. So here it is. So check this out. So he's going to throw this ball. Now he threw a sinker, y'all. Now, I'm not sure why, but like I said before, a more experienced quarterback, he's either going to hit this guy in stride or he's going to take the touchdown over the top. So, ugly sight to see. Now, let's get to the negatives, okay? Because not everything is sunshine and rainbows. Not everything was just, oh my God, the team was bad. Because there were some things that I questioned, especially this one. This is a 3rd and 16 right here. Now, granted, there's no good play call for a 3rd and 16, but you don't call a type of play like this, because what's going to happen is you're going to get this number 3 running down the middle of the field. Looks like we're getting some kind of choice route right here, where, remember, you know, you can break in, break out, sit it down. All right, we're going to get this stop route up top. All right, and he's going to be blocking. He's going to swing out wide. Like, where is the viable option here? I'm not really sure, okay? Because when you watch this play out, remember, it's 3rd and 16. Okay, there's really nowhere to go. I understand you're trying to play the field position game and get, some more breathing room so you're not in the end zone when you're punting, but damn, you're not even gonna try to pick it up. Like, I don't know about that. Another thing that I did pick up on is the tendency when they condense the formation down. So you see how the formation is all inside the numbers. So I would consider this a condensed formation. When it's like this, you're probably getting boot or play action a lot of times. So what we're gonna get here is this over motion, and he's gonna just be running down the red line right here. We're gonna get Jerry Jeudy running this stop route and some kind of clear out right here by this other guy. I'm not really sure what the end game was for right here. Maybe it's some kind of version of four verse, but you keep a guy in, I don't know. But you're gonna see there's really nowhere to go with this football because it's just not a good play design in my opinion. All right, so look at this. He's at the top of his drop right here. Now granted, the guy's in his face, but where do you go with this football? Top of the drop, there's nothing open, and now he has to step up, starts running. This is where he ends up. I'm not sure what the design was for right here. So this is a knock to me. And here we go again with the bootleg game. I just don't really like it. Now this isn't a necessarily condensed formation because the Z receiver's outside of the numbers, but what we're gonna get this slide route by this receiver. Now look at his splits. He's very far from the end man. All right, and he has to work all the way back across the formation. We're gonna get this slam. He's gonna kind of just sit right here. Okay, we're gonna get this guy going across, and he's just running this comeback. Okay, I don't really like the design of this because once Shedeur gets on his rollout, for one, like this, if it messes up the whole time right here, because now look, he's trying to sprint out to go get him, and he has to run all the way back around. All right, maybe if he was a little bit closer, maybe this is a receiver thing and not a design thing. If he was closer to the line, he can then get across the formation cleanly. But then once he gets out here on the boot, there is nothing open. Okay, this guy's running into space, but he's driving on it. The comeback is right here, and his hips are high, so he's ready to drive on it. He's ready to turn and drive. The slide route isn't open, and this little right here, no, because he's gonna leave that alone and go get him. Okay, so there's nothing really open right here, y'all, and I don't like the inconsistent designs on the rollouts. Okay, because you're moving the pocket to create better throwing lanes, not make it look like that. And I just don't like the design. This is the first pass of the game, by the way. Just not a good look. And then there are plays where there's too much going on. So remember, look at this condensed formation. So what are we thinking right here? Play action or a shot play. All right. And what we're going to get a screen pass for some reason. Okay. We're going to get these guys running down the field. Doesn't really matter because this play isn't really designed for them. But we're going to get the screen right. I think it's for the tight end. He's gonna block and he's gonna like a little middle screen. These guys are gonna go out and block, but you're gonna see there's too much going on. By the way, he's gonna pull across. That's my fault. So you're gonna get the play fake going this way, but the rest of these guys are gonna go. He's gonna stay back in pass pro, but there's a lot going on right here, a lot of traffic to work through, and it ends up being an intentional ground because look at this. All right, you get the guard pulling around. You get Harold Fana stepping down to take this in. All right, and he does a quick shed basically, and you see it was already man covered, so he was already down here from the start. Okay, so the screen was sniffed out. They really weren't able to do anything, okay, because Harold Fan is not open. You don't really want to go over here. Now you could, but not part of the play design. And you see it's just a lot going on. Shedeur tries to step up. He tries to run and take off, but there was nothing right there, so he just throws the ball and gets an intentional grounding. And then here's another one where there was still like the spacing was just not right, and there was nobody that really separated. So we're gonna get this little return route right here. We're gonna get this post or some kind of over route by the number 2. We're gonna get this outside release, and he's gonna go out. Okay, so you're gonna get some kind of scissors concept. All right, and he's gonna stay in the block, and then he's gonna go out on this over route. What you're gonna see, it's just like it looks jumbled up. It looks very unorganized. Okay, and you're gonna see right here. So look, you're gonna get the switch release right here. Jerry Jeudy's gonna work back out, but you're gonna see the timing was messed up right here. For one, I will say that the timing was kind of messed up. But you see, he's gonna break out, and then he's gonna break in. Like there was really nowhere to go with this football. Okay, and Shedeur is like, what is going on? All right, it doesn't really help that he wanted to. I don't even know what he wanted to throw right here, but like there's just really nowhere to go. Okay. And I do think that, you know, once again, if you disrupt timing of an offense, everything gets thrown off. But there is supposed to be some kind of resemblance of what you were trying to do. And I really can't tell what they were trying to do, honestly. And then for the last one, this is another example of process over result. So you saw earlier what the Chicago Bears did when they mugged the front. They're going to do the same thing that the Bears did, okay? Or they're going to show about 7 or 8 guys at the line, okay? And they're going to drop out and run Tampa too. But now the play design is a little bit different, okay? I'm not really sure what was going on right here because we're going to get this fade out right here, okay? We're going to get this OTB, then we're going to get this curl route with the swing. I'm not really sure is there really a consistent read right here? I'm not really sure. Like if this was just like you know what coverage you're going to get, where do you work first? I'm not sure where you would work first, honestly. Okay. So this is just not a consistent thing to me. I will say they did do a motion. So he started out over here and he motioned all the way over here. So there was nothing really to look at because you could tell it was a blitz because there was minimal motion. It were not a blitz, but you could tell they were going to do something up front because there was minimal movement. Okay. But still, when you watch this unfold, you're going to see like, where can you reliably go? Shador was at the top of his drop already right there. Like right there. Okay. And remember, you're getting an out route right here. Okay. You're getting a fade. You're getting an OTB and a curl. Okay. A lot of static routes. Now, I will say static routes are normally called a lot when you think your quarterback can't see the field that well. And that's just Shador Sanders we're talking about here. He wasn't the best, but like, where is there reliably to go? Okay. And he does do a good job of just checking it down. Ooh, he got hammered though. And you get 9 yards, but like the process really wasn't that great. So after watching and charting both a good and bad game, I came away more conflicted than I expected, okay? But in a productive way. Even in the worst games, there was still repeatable, understandable offensive structure in some plays, and I could identify the primary read and see how the concept was meant to stress the coverage. And in a vacuum, a lot of these plays would work if executed properly. A lot of the failures came down to things outside of the whiteboard where, like I said, protection broke down, receivers are missing details, and quarterback play that consistently broke the timing and the structure. And at the same time, this wasn't a perfect evaluation, even in the good games. There were moments where the play design or the sequencing made you stop and ask, like, what was your end game here? And that part, that still gives me pause. What this tape showed me isn't that Tommy Rees is a bad offensive coordinator. It's that he's a development one. And I know people are going to be scared because of Zach Robinson and what, we endured last year. And the offense generally made sense to me, though. But it didn't always have the answers, and that's where things went wrong, because that was the same thing that happened with Zach. Because that's the difference between being ready to run an offense versus being able to stabilize one. And for Atlanta, this hire makes sense only because Rees probably won't be asked to rescue chaos or really call plays in general. He'll be operating within an established structure and a clear vision, hopefully, okay? And I'm not all in, but I'm also not all out. And this is a bet on growth and context with guardrails, and whether or not, that works, it will say a lot about this staff's plan to build the offense moving forward. So if you did watch the tape for yourself, let me know what you saw on tape. And if you're out on this hire, tell me why. If you think it can work, and tell me what you're betting on. And I want actual football conversation in the comments, y'all. Please, not just the reactions, but let me know what y'all think. Make sure you guys like the video. See y'all guys in the next video. Goodbye.